8 real stories. 8 moments where something ordinary, a class, a dog walk, a bike ride home, became something no one was ready for. Pay attention to how each one ends. Because in the last story, 2 of them almost did not make it back out. Pretty sure I was tricked into giving a guy foot fetish material at school today. I am a 19-year-old woman, and I just finished my first day of the new semester. I'm kind of stressed out over something that happened in my last class. I did not think much of it when it happened, but after talking to my friend about it, I feel incredibly creeped out, and honestly, a little stupid. Since it was the first day, we just did the typical introductory stuff. It was a studio art class, so there were no desks, just chairs in a circle. I was wearing baggy jeans, but the way I was sitting, they would sometimes show my socks underneath. They are just white socks with sunflower designs on them. When the class ended and everyone got up to leave, a guy a couple of seats down came over to me and said he had noticed my socks and that they were neat. He said his girlfriend loves socks and that he wanted to take a picture of them to show her. I love socks too, and at the time it seemed like a sweet, fun little thing for his girlfriend, so I agreed to let him take a picture. He noticed that the socks were long, they go up to my knees, and encouraged me to pull my jeans up a bit so they would show in full for the picture. I did. I expected a quick snap and then done. But he held the phone for a while. I am pretty sure now that he was actually recording a video rather than taking pictures. He asked what the rest of the socks looked like, and like an idiot, I took off my shoes and basically let him take pictures of my feet. I do not know what I was thinking. I sometimes get flustered by male attention, and it all happened very fast. He seemed confident and collected, and I genuinely believed he was just an outgoing person who wanted to show his girlfriend something she would like. The phone was pointed at my feet for about 10 seconds. He moved around them, getting angles from all sides, including the bottoms. I am sure it was a video, because the phone was always facing my feet, and I think I even saw him zoom in a couple of times. It was hard to notice how strange it was, because he kept making conversation the whole time, saying how soft they looked, asking if I had other socks like this. After it wrapped up, he put his phone away and tried chatting with me as we left the classroom. He asked how long my walks were between classes, what I thought of the hot weather, things like that. At the time they seemed like regular small talk. My friend thinks every single question had a purpose. Part of me still wants to believe the intentions were pure, but I know they were not, and I have to sit in class with him for the rest of the semester. She did nothing wrong, and she has to see him again in 3 days. The next story started as a simple dog walk, and escalated into something that made her afraid to leave her own neighborhood. Story 2. Creepy man in my neighborhood approached me twice recently. I am a young woman, and I need some advice about 2 strange encounters with a man in my neighborhood that has left me shaken. The first encounter happened when I walked my dog later than usual in the evening. As I was waiting at a light to cross the street, a man approached and said, "She is beautiful, can I pet her?" I thanked him and said yes, because people asked to pet my dog all the time. Instead of petting my dog, he placed his hand on my shoulder and upper arm and started rubbing up and down. He said, "I was talking about you." I froze. I did not know how to react, and I was scared of how he would respond if I rejected him. I gave him a fake name when he asked for mine. Fortunately, another man walked past and started crossing the street, so I snapped out of it and crossed quickly behind him. Once I was far enough away, I sprinted around the block with my dog, making sure he was not following me before I went home. The second encounter happened the next afternoon during my regular dog walk. I had no idea the same man was behind me the entire time. I only thought he was someone trying to pass by. It was him. He started trying to make conversation. I called my sister, pretended she was waiting for me around the corner, and kept her on the line as I speed walked and then ran home as soon as he was out of sight. My friends think this is not the first time he has seen me. They think he has been watching long enough to learn my routine. And I believe they are right. She is scared to walk her dog now, in her own neighborhood. The next story happened in the UK, on a semi-busy street at 9:30 at night, and it is one of the... Story 3. Woman asked me over and over to get in her car with her male partner to help me. This happened yesterday. I am a woman in my 20s in the United Kingdom. I was leaving the supermarket near my home, carrying a small desk fan in its box, and a small bag of groceries. As I was walking down the road at about 9:30 in the evening, I saw a woman walking toward me from across the street. From her clothes, I thought she might be homeless and was going to ask me for money. She did not look rough exactly, just a little weathered. She waved at me in a bright, friendly way and asked if I wanted help with what I was carrying. I thought she wanted to walk alongside me, so I said thank you, but it was not heavy. She did not leave. She said she was worried about me carrying it. Again, I said I was fine. Still, she did not leave. She said her partner had seen me walking and felt sorry that I was carrying something and wanted to help. She pointed across the road to a car pulled up on the side, and I realized she was asking me to get in. She kept insisting. She would not take no for an answer. She must have asked 8 or 9 times before finally walking back to get into the car passenger seat. One thing that struck me, her clothes were shabby and her face was a little gaunt, like she had been going through a very hard time. But the car she pointed to was expensive and well kept. That seemed completely out of place. And her partner never showed his face. When I looked toward the car, he must have been leaning back in his seat. 8 or 9 attempts to get me into a car at night, with a driver who would not show his face.
She said no 8 times. 8. The next story happened at work, in an environment where she felt like she had to be polite,
and he took full advantage of that. Story 4. Am I justified? A coworker much older than me has been making me uncomfortable ever since he started at my job. I am 27 years old and female. He was normal at first, so when he asked me to send him the link to a work event directly to his phone number because he said he could not open the link through the work messaging app, I did not think twice. That gave him access to my personal phone number. At work, he started asking personal questions, praising aspects of my personality and appearance. Nothing that would get him in direct trouble, but enough to make me deeply uncomfortable. Then he started texting me, and the messages gradually became more intense, even when I did not respond. I am polite and shy, and I was scared to confront him, but one day he sent a text so long and so delusional that I decided to tell him to stop in person. He did, for a while. Then he started again, offering me lifts and following me on my lunch walks. I told Human Resources, and they gave him a formal warning. But here is the part that bothers me beyond just the harassment. He does not want his picture taken. No one knows his age. No one knows where he is from or where he worked before. He refuses to share anything about himself. I know some people are very private, but his behavior combined with that complete absence of personal information, I do not feel safe with him in the building, and I do not think I am wrong for feeling that way. A man with no history, no age, no past, who followed her on her lunch walks after a formal warning. The next story happened in broad daylight, across multiple locations, to someone who kept telling themselves it was just a coincidence. Story 5. Am I being followed or just paranoid? I went out to buy some supplies today. I was at a stationery shop and saw a guy in an all-black outfit, with a cap and a mask, just standing there. I did not think much of it. Then I went to a mall. It was not walking distance. I had to take another bus to get there. I saw him in the distance. I told myself I was imagining things, until I got my things and went to a fast food restaurant. I could see him outside through the window. I panicked and went to the bathroom for a few minutes. When I looked outside again, he was still there, on his phone, like he was waiting for someone. I was shaking. I ran out and stood near a security guard. He was still on the other side of the street. When a bus stopped, I got on as fast as I could. I am home now, and I cannot stop shaking. It happened around 9 in the morning. I am underage and was wearing a school physical education uniform, fully covered. I cannot think of any reason why I would be followed. I keep telling myself it was just a coincidence. But was it? 3 locations, 1 bus ride between them, and he was already there. The next story starts where most people would think the danger was already over. Story 6. The trail creep was worse than I thought. I don't know if anyone will remember my post from a few months back about that creepy older man at my local trail. That weird feeling never really left me. Something happened tonight that has me absolutely shaken. I was scrolling through social media and saw a post from a friend of a friend. She was at the same trail, and she was approached by the same man. Same car, same strange way of talking, everything. But here's where it gets worse. He became extremely aggressive when she said no to walking with him. He followed her. He tried to get her to go off the main path to somewhere more secluded. She said she was terrified and only got away by pretending to receive a phone call and running when she saw other people coming. She went straight to the police. Then I read the comments. 3 other people had stories. Same man, same trail, same pattern. And apparently the police had been dealing with something very serious in that area. Not just creepy encounters, something much worse. My gut was not just warning me about some strange man at a trail. It was warning me about what had actually been happening there. I do not care if you think you are being rude or paranoid. Your instincts know when something is wrong. They do not care about being polite. I walked away from something that could have been. I do not even want to finish that sentence. Please be careful. That feeling in your stomach knows things. Listen to it. 4 women, same trail, same man, and police already investigating something serious in that area. The next one happened inside a store, and the cameras did not make her feel safe. Story 7. Customer Creep. I am 19 years old and female. This happened at my retail job, and I still do not know if I am overreacting, but it was scary for me. I have been through a sexual assault before. The man looked at most 25 and was alone. I am used to teenage boys asking for my number, which is uncomfortable enough. But this felt different. I had a bad gut feeling immediately and I trusted it. He was following me around while I was restocking the floor. Then he came up to me, standing uncomfortably close, and asked where the bathroom was. I told him it was next to the nearby pharmacy. He asked where exactly, so I pointed it out from where I was standing. Then he told me to walk him over there. I kept my distance and walked him close enough to point it out clearly from a distance. I went back to my job. About a minute later, he came back, just as close, and told me there was no paper towel in the bathroom. I told him there was another bathroom near the self-checkout. He said he did not want to use the other bathroom, and asked me to bring him paper towels to the first one. I said I did not know where they were, and that I would ask someone at the front to bring them. He insisted again that it had to be me specifically bringing the paper towels. I said I would be right back and went to the front to tell my team what was happening. My manager told me to go to the back room and stay there. A coworker saw him walking around the area where I had been working, looking for me. Then he left the store and came back, still with an empty basket, and walked every single aisle very fast, like he was searching. I had my name badge on. I took it off the moment I remembered it. My manager said it would not be an issue because there were cameras. But if something had happened to me, knowing it was on camera would not make it something I could just get over. I was escorted to my car at the end of my shift. He came back, walked every single aisle, looking for her by name. The last story tonight happened at 3 in the morning, and 2 teenage girls almost did not come back out. Story 8. She ran into the woods. Then 2 men followed. This happened literally yesterday. I am a 19-year-old woman, and I honestly do not think I have fully processed it yet. My friend, also 19, and I were biking home at around 3 in the morning on a dimly lit street right next to our house. On one side was forest, pitch black beyond the tree line. On the other side were houses. From far away we spotted a red car with one broken headlight parked ahead. As we got closer, the car started moving, past us very slowly, then made a turn and drove past us again. We were 2 girls alone at night, and even in the dark it was obvious. We moved onto the sidewalk. That is when we noticed a girl standing partially hidden behind a white truck, watching the same red car. The car was creeping toward her. Then she ran. She took off up the sidewalk and turned onto a bike path that cuts through the forest. Immediately, 2 men got out of the car and followed her in. We decided to follow too and try to help her. Our survival instincts had not caught up yet. I live next to that forest. I know how dark it gets. No one walks that path without a flashlight, and this was 3 in the morning. We reached the path entrance and saw the red car just waiting there. The driver, a man in a white bucket hat, looked straight at us, then sped away. We walked into the path, fence on one side, dense forest on the other. That is when I heard it. Slow, deliberate footsteps, keeping pace with us, heavy enough to be a person. Definitely not an animal. We kept walking until my friend spotted the girl ahead of us. she turned on her flashlight and called out, "Are you okay?" The girl looked over her shoulder, stared for a moment with an unreadable expression, and then ran deeper into the darkness. That is when our survival instincts finally kicked in. We turned around and sprinted back the way we came, screaming as we ran. We called the police as soon as we got back to the street. Within minutes, 3 police cars arrived. An unmarked car drove down the forest path. About 5 minutes later, they came back and showed us a photo of the girl. They said they found her with one man, which made no sense because we'd seen her completely alone and running from 2 men less than 10 minutes earlier. They said neither of them would identify themselves or explain why they were there. Then we saw 3 people get into a police car, not 2, 3, which means someone had been following us in those woods. The only reason I think they did not come after us was because we started screaming. I keep replaying it. I cannot stop. 8 stories, 8 moments where the line between a normal day and something you never recover from was razor thin. The girl in the woods, the man walking every aisle looking for her name, the car that passed twice. If any of these made your chest tighten, like this video, because it helps more people find these stories. Subscribe right now, because I post real stories like these every single day. Drop a comment below. Which story are you still thinking about? I read every single one. Stay aware, and I will see you in the next one.